Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 625. Successful First Day. Phew. What exactly are Amirius and Aston Revolt scheming about? To attract a warning from the Twilight Hermit Order. Unless it can truly change the times and influence the direction of history, this ancient and secretive organization wouldn't even show itself or reveal its identity. Klein stood by the side of a magnificent castle in his dream, thoughtfully watching the spot where the blurry figure had disappeared from. Amidst his thoughts, he suddenly snapped awake and was no longer as certain about his theory. The ploy which Admiral Amirius and his brother are planning might not really influence the trends of the times. Although the Twilight Hermit Order only involves itself in important matters, as a leader of another secret organization, Klein clearly knew that apart from carrying out the organization's own mission and values, it also provided help among members. From Emperor Rosel's diary, I can tell that the Twilight Hermit Order has members from different domains, standings, and sequences. Apart from a number of them fervently believing in the original creator as they await the coming of Twilight and the awakening of the true God, the rest are only seeking to benefit themselves. Under such circumstances, as long as the organizer doesn't strictly implement order, there would naturally be missions entrusted between one another. Perhaps, the matter Aston Revolt is planning affects a particular member of the Twilight Hermit Order who was made aware of it ahead of time. He entrusted the matter to another member and used the excuse of the trend of the times to warn Amirius Revolt. Working from this logic, the concealed matter is rather interesting. With the level of the Twilight Hermit Order, Lawweaver Amirius, who's likely only a sequence 4, isn't too difficult a target to eliminate. I even suspect that they can mobilize up to 3 or more angels in a manner that's far superior to the 7 churches. Then, why didn't they take action directly and instead gave an advance warning? Back in Backland, if an angel were to appear, who knows if some true god would descend upon the land. Therefore, the Twilight Hermit Order had no choice but to use a more roundabout and discreet method to deal with Duke Negan. But this is the Orvie Island. Even high-sequence Beyonders aren't stationed here. The warning is because the Twilight Hermit Order advocates secrecy and doesn't wish to expose itself, so they're trying not to use overly intense methods. Or is it the case that the member who assigned the mission doesn't wish to see Amirius killed? To him, this admiral is still of use, so he's unwilling to give up on him, even if Amirius might be involved in something disadvantageous towards him. Then, his true identity seems to be confined to certain circles. Klein made a bold assumption, but with no way of verifying it, he could only temporarily put the matter aside and throw it to the back of his mind. It has nothing to do with me since it's the Twilight Hermit Order who's warning Admiral Amirius. As long as I don't involve myself with anything for the next few days, I should be able to last until the mission is completed. Everything else that develops afterward has nothing to do with me. With my present status, I'm still far from investigating the Twilight Hermit Order. I don't even have the right to probe deeper. Klein kept to his beliefs and turned his sights to his tarot club. I just discovered a problem. Other secret organizations have their own aims and values at their core while mixing in the aid that members provide each other. As for our tarot club, it's more impressive. There are only missions given to each other, without any aims or values. No, there are aims and values among some of the members. For example, my dear Moon believes that this is an organization born to save the world. The fool Klein gave a self-deprecating laugh before exiting the dreamscape. He rubbed away the fake eyes and moved his real eyes back to their original position in a very fluid motion when he suddenly paused. That wasn't a simple dream infiltration. Klein frowned slightly as he recalled what had happened. That was because the power had first attempted to pull him into a deep slumber. Back then, I had already fallen asleep, so why would he do so? Captain once said that a nightmare can directly see a dream, so it's impossible to commit such a mistake. Therefore, the visitor hadn't used the Beyonder powers of a nightmare, but something else. He located me via the spirit world? Or after he knew my location, he used the sea of collective subconscious, as described by Ma'am Daly, to directly influence my Beyonder powers? Yes. I'm more inclined to the second reason. That's the only thing that can explain why I couldn't escape my dream despite having regained lucidity. It's recorded in Emperor Rosel's diary that during his participation in the suspected Twilight Hermit Order, his entry into the gathering was based on a realistic dreamscape that encompassed the entire continent. A realistic dreamscape. Klein nodded and chuckled silently with a sigh. Admiral Amirius definitely didn't expect the Twilight Hermit Order's warning. It's only because he hired me. If it were anyone else, the stand-in would have already been exposed. That ninth law charm was well worth it. City of Silver, inside the spire, in the room belonging to Chief Colin Iliad. Derek Berg, who had been summoned, saw the grizzled, scarred demon hunter once again as he felt uneasy. After he finished his greetings, Colin sized him up and asked, "You've advanced?" "Yes, I'm already a Sequence 7 Solar High Priest." Derek had long registered his advancement, so there was no need to hide the matter. Colin's light blue eyes, which had seen the vicissitudes of time, moved away as he casually asked, "Do you have the subsequent potion formulas?" The past Derek would have directly answered, "No," but the present him was used to thinking over it before answering. If I say, "No," my subsequent advancement with the lack of experience to support it will definitely make me suspicious. But if I were to answer, "Yes," Chief might ask me to use it to exchange for items so as to nurture more Sun Pathway Beyonders. This will no doubt prove that I'm lying. As Derek's mind raced, he answered sincerely, "No." From his point of view, experience could be forged. Colin nodded as if nothing was out of the ordinary. "In about 2 months, we'll arrange an exploration mission for you. The team will secure the route and ruins we found with the help of Jack before we make a second clearing. I hope you will receive greater rewards then." "Yes, Your Excellency." Just as Derek answered, he suddenly recalled Shepherd Lovia. After daybreak, Klein changed into his clothes with the help of Cynthia, enjoyed a sumptuous breakfast, and took the carriage under the escort of the Admiral's bodyguards to the Orvie Naval Base. In the morning, under the companionship of the Rear Admirals and Colonels, he inspected the conditions of the ships, ordnance stores, the newly built training grounds, and the bathroom which had been renovated 20 times over the past year. After having lunch at the Navy Mess Hall, Klein followed the schedule and summoned all officers above the rank of major to take in their reports. During this process, he had a thick black-bound notebook placed in front of him. Inside were some of the questions that Admiral Amirius had specially prepared for him. In the past few decades, due to the embezzlement of salaries and the harsh conditions sailors suffer, Orvie has had 17 revolts by the lower ranks. After the passing of the Imperial Navy latest act, and thanks to Your Excellency's guidance, we've already had such deep-seated cultural issues improved. There haven't been any such cases in the past 3 years. A colonel from the Orvie Naval Base stood on the spot and reported the entire situation. He would raise his head from time to time to look at Admiral Amirius Revolt and discovered that he was listening very seriously while taking notes. The scribbling sounds made none of the officers dare to not be at their best. Similarly, they took note of the important points. The colonel who received a positive response unknowingly spoke up louder while reporting. "How boring!" Klein held his fountain pen and had randomly drawn creatures like turtles, cuttlefish, and dragons on his black-bound notebook. As he had never studied sketching before, his drawings were a ghastly sight to see. Later on, he even drew intersecting lines and began playing 5 in a row with himself, a game created by Emperor Rosel. Of course, his rich experience and his conscientiousness of his identity made him raise his head from time to time to give the reporter a stern look in the eye while giving a nod of encouragement. As for what the person had said, he didn't pay any attention to it. All he did was occasionally remember a few words. During the briefing, Klein shot a glance at the blonde secretary, Juan, to get him to represent himself to mention a few points that needed clarification. Everything followed the schedule. Towards the end, Klein flipped the black-bound notebook a few pages forward and used the accent of a lone aristocrat to recite the report which the secretary had drafted and the admiral had edited. Then, according to the actual situation, He used the common terms Amirius would use and added a few conjunctions and pet phrases such as, "There are a few points," and "Let me continue on a few more points." It was already evening by the time the briefing ended. Under Luan's companionship, Klein left the Orvie Naval Base and headed for the residence of a naval supplier where a banquet was held. At the banquet, they casually chatted about the price fluctuations of port goods. As for Klein, he mimicked Admiral Amirius, and he would mention a dated joke from Backlund from time to time, garnering a warm response from everyone as he was praised for his humor. After successfully acting until the banquet ended, Klein boarded the carriage, feeling exhausted in body and mind. "I have to take note of my speech and actions every minute and second. Engaging in true acting for a day is more tiring than battling a pirate admiral." Klein silently sighed, as he closed his eyes halfway without a change in expression. He knew that the most difficult stage of the day wasn't over. He still had to deal with Cynthia. Inside the villa, Cynthia learned from the attendant who had gone out to make inquiries that Admiral Amirius was about to return. She quietly returned to her bedroom, took out the tiny black rhinoceros horn pendant, and used a metallic plate to scratch off tiny bits of powder, mixing it into the hot water inside a white porcelain teacup. After repeating the honorific name of the Mother Tree of Desire 7 times, she waited nearly a minute before lifting the teacup in hope, cleanly downing it.